All right, team, let's go. Belly fat truths for women. That's what I'm coming to you live with this evening. Give you a few minutes to join. I know it's a hot, sunny evening, so chances are you're not going to be indoors. You might be outside, but remember, sun cream, even though it's evening, you can still get burnt. So I just shared a post on LinkedIn from cancer research around what to do with the sun and how to protect yourself. And it's really important because more and more people are getting skin cancer in the UK. I've had a few clients who've had skin cancer. I've got one at the moment who's got suspected lower eyelid cancer potentially. So it is a real thing. The rays are a real thing. So make sure you are wearing your sunscreen and your sunglasses because it is becoming more and more a thing. All right, I'm still choked with a cold. Isn't hay fever still a cold? But hey, it's getting better. Just in case you think I'm sniffling throughout, that's the reason why. All right, so I'm coming to you belly fat truths for women. Now, the reason, remember, hashtag replay if you're catching us on the replay. Now, the reason I want to come to you with this subject is because a lot of women come to me with the goal of losing the belly fat. They want to get rid of the belly, feel uncomfortable, feel like it can't fit into their clothes, and you can't spot reduce belly fat, but there are things that you can do to help reduce the buildup of belly fat and reduce the amount of belly fat you have, okay? But it takes a whole body approach rather than just thinking, oh, I want to just do some crunches or some core work and that's going to get rid of the belly fat. It actually takes a number of lifestyle changes focused around nutrition, movement, stress management. And I wanted to go over that with you this evening to give you an understanding of why these changes occur and understand then what you can do around it. Okay, so it's not just a case of just giving up and going, oh shit, it's going to be this forevermore. It's going to actually, okay, I understand why and understand what I need to do to mitigate this becoming more of an issue and what I can do to look at reducing it too. Alrighty, so first up, women over 40 often struggle with belly fat because of the combination of hormonal changes. So, hormonal changes that cause metabolic shifts, your lifestyle factors play a big part in this too. And also, you might be genetically disposed to having more belly fat. So, normally when you look at your parents, you can kind of see where your mum's body shape went. Now, don't get me wrong, if you've got parents and family who've been overweight and not eating healthy, it can be a bit hard to tell. But normally, we talk about pear shape, apple shape, that sort of thing. That also dictates where the fat is going to lay down on your body. And when we have hormonal changes, ultimately where those changes are going to take place. So as a woman develops perimenopause, menopause, estrogen declines. Now remember, this is in your early 40s. This is a 10-year process that starts in your early 40s, okay? So as part of that, then your estrogen levels decline, which can lead to the redistribution of fat going from your hips to your belly. Okay, so that's what can happen and go from your hips, your thighs to your belly. And often I have women say, like, oh, I'm a bit Humpty Dumpty, there's nothing really around my hips, and there's nothing really around my thighs, it all goes to my belly. And this is to do with the estrogen drop that causes that storage to shift. And there's a couple of things around that in terms of thought process of why does it go to your belly. And the thought process is really around, well, that's where your reproductive organs are. And as much as you're like, I don't want to be having babies, the whole point of menopause is then so you can have babies, but it's about protection. So there's few schools of thoughts that says it shifts to your belly because actually that's to protect your reproductive organs. And you think, well, that's not very useful. Okay. And that's the place that you hate having the belly fat. You want rid of it. You want it to be the first place it goes, but often it's the last place it goes. Normally, when we lose fat, we lose it in our face and our boobs first. Now, that's not to say you can't do anything about it. You absolutely can. So, with the decreased estrogen, it's looking at what we can do to kind of regulate your blood sugar and to basically help with the storage of fat around your belly. And the reason you can do that, the ways you can do that is really around things like I mentioned earlier in my post, cortisol. So cortisol is the stress hormone, and it's common around kind of midlife as well. So if you've got your hormones happening, you're dropping estrogen, and in midlife you are called a sandwich culture. What this means is often a lot of people have kids and they have aging parents. So in that sandwich culture, you've got lots of different pressures happening. You're looking after your kids who may be teenage years. You've got parents who are aging, who are maybe getting different needs of care, As they're getting older, you're there in the middle trying to run the house, you're there in the middle trying to have a career, managing all those things. So your stress levels are typically high, which is associated with the increased fat storage around the belly too. So I'm going to say if there's one thing you can do first up in terms of to help your hormones and to help the estrogen changes and to help with fat storage around the middle, really look at your stress levels. So stress levels, and you think, well, that's life. What can I do? Ask for help, because as females, what we tend to do is try and do everything ourselves. So first up, let's try and reduce the stress levels by asking for help from your partner, whoever that may be, family, outside help. There's lots of support groups. I know lots of people, lots of my clients' parents have dementia, they have Parkinson, these complex cases, and it's that case of going and asking for help and seeing what's out there agency-wise to take the pressure off you, because you and your health matters, and what you do now is also going to play into your health in the future. So you really need to look after yourself now to help with your future health, not just in terms of belly fat and body shape, but all your mental and physical health elements. All right, so we spoke about looking at reducing stress, focusing on what you can control, what you can't control, and then what things you can ask for help with. And then part of that is around sleep. Now, typically when people go through perimenopause, menopause, I hear this a lot. I don't sleep. I'm typically up every 2 hours. I'm typically up every hour. And poor sleep patterns are common during the hormonal changes. It's due to the drop and rise of hormones, disrupting hunger hormones, which can increase appetite, because then you're not sleeping well, so your brain's like carb hungry. You might have heard me speak about this before. Your brain's like, feed me, Julie, feed me. If you're going to make me stay awake during the day when we're tired because we've been up in the night, then you got to feed me. You got to give me something. So the brain will make you crave more food, which then can lead to overeating. So what can you do about the poor sleep? So you can take supplements for this, and magnesium and taurine are the ones that Lara Briden recommends. These are the calming is the taurine, and the magnesium is thought to be the thing that's going to help us with sleep too, because everyone is pretty much lacking magnesium because of soil degradation. So the hand in hand that Lara recommends, I always say to my female clients, buy Lara's book, go to Lara Briden, check it out, buy her book for women with hormones over 40, and she'll talk about the sleep. Actually, if you go into her website, you'll find it too. So magnesium and taurine are seen as the supplements that really help females with sleep. I personally myself take those, and I found that it's made a world of difference with me not waking up 2 o'clock wide awake in the morning. Okay, so to help the hormones, we've spoke about reducing stress, we've spoke about sleep, and the other thing that happens as we age is that I'm just like, how do I say it? I was like, what? The other things that the other thing that happens when you're perimenopause is you lose your mind. But no, the other thing that happens is you slow down in terms of your digestive system, the way you eat, and I've totally lost my train of thought. You slow down in terms of your hunger cues, but also in terms of what you tend to go for. So what I mean for that is people tend to go for smaller portions. So they tend to go for smaller portions, and as a result, they end up snacking differently. So you end up having small plates and you end up not eating as much, but throughout the whole day, you end up snacking, okay? And then what happens is your metabolic rate slows down. And as your metabolic rate slows down, you stop using calories the same as you did before. Okay, so like when I'm sitting here right now, I'm burning calories. Okay, so my heart's beating, my lungs are being used breathing, and my brain is trying to function. So I'm using a lot of calories just sitting here, not doing a lot. But as we age, that slows down. So when you hear about people saying about decreased metabolic rate, that's what they're referring to, is when it actually slows down as you age. And naturally, sometimes you're not moving as much. So it might well be that you're thinking, because this bugs me, but you're thinking, oh, I'm getting older, I should slow down, not do as much, not as much physical activity. And as a result, then you're going to decrease the calories that you burn whilst at rest. Now that naturally happens, but then if you're also slowing down and not being as active and not eating that great food because you're stressed or you're not sleeping or you're cutting down your portions and having smaller meals, so you're snacking, it all compounds, is ultimately the problem. It all compounds. So what can you do about the slower metabolic rate? Well, basically it's about regular exercise. It is about moving your body, like walking, running, swimming, strength training. You know, I always talk about strength training. So this can be body weight, push-ups, squats, lunges. It can be with weights. But the building muscle is calorie hungry. So that's really going to help you counteract the slowing of the metabolic rate. And also with the slowing of your body, if you're thinking, oh, I'm getting older, I should be slowing down, not doing as much, or feeling like you've not got the energy to do as much, by working out, you're going to give yourself energy and you're going to feel so much better for it. Because remember, your body's like a power station, so you need to generate that energy and you generate it from moving. All right, so let's recap. So we've got there about the hormone changes, and we support our hormones through stress management. We support our hormones through sleep. See, my mind's going. Stress management and sleep, okay? That's how we support our hormones. Let me get another drink. And then we need to be moving our body. So the whole metabolic slowing down, that's going to happen naturally as we age, but we support that by doing our strength training, whether it's body weight or weight training, or even just getting out for a walk, that's going to help. And then the final one I want to cover off is, obviously, I've covered a little bit, nutrition, nutritional choices. These are huge. I mean, like I say, diet over time tends to be accumulated. So what you eat now is probably what you've kind of built up eating over the past 10 years. So whether that be sweet treats, savory things, habits you've got around tea and biscuits, could be going out the weekends, the afternoon teas. These are habits that you've accumulated over time. And that was great. 10 years ago, it probably worked for you and didn't notice any difference. But as these factors come in, the hormone shifts, the metabolic changes, the pressures that you might feel, maybe if you're not sleeping, you don't want to move as much. If you're feeling stressed out, that you've got 10 million things to do, if you're just grabbing things on the go, you might not realize how much you're eating. And if you're like trying different fad diets, or you're trying small plates but snacking more, or trying fasting, which may not work for you, then everything compounds, and that's why you kind of get stuck where you are. So the key with the nutrition is to go in for high protein foods. You know what I'm going to say? No coffee in the morning. Start with high protein breakfast. Then look at leading your meals with high protein, okay? So high protein and fiber is what's going to keep you fuller for longer, but more importantly, it's going to help your digestive system. It's going to help your muscle mass, because muscle degeneration in females is huge. Every decade that you're not working your muscles, you're losing muscle, which is going to impact your ability to burn calories. But more importantly, personally for me, as being an independent woman, I want to be able to lift my suitcase when I go on holiday. I want to be able to lift the boxes of tiles that I need to do the DIY. I want to be independent and strong. But in order to do that, not only do you have to work your muscles, but you also have to fuel them and look after them. So if you think about nutrition-wise, protein-led breakfast, lunch, dinner, obviously lots of color in there, vegetables and fruits for fiber, which is really going to help keep you full and stop you craving the sugary snacks, stop you craving the savory snacks. Because if you're eating properly at meal times, I'm not saying you won't ever want a snack. Of course, you might want one by protein balls, for example, which are like good. One of my homemade protein balls. But ultimately, if you're eating well, you will not crave these other things. And when you do, you will not overindulge in them. So nutrition is something you can't escape. And like I say, what worked for you 10 years ago doesn't necessarily work for you now. And that's the reality of life. And I know you might not want to hear that, but it's true. And I touched on a little point about genetics at the start. I mean, you can influence where your body stores fat. As I said, some women are predisposed to be apple shape, pear shape. You know, we've talked about this for years and years. But what you can do is help your body by helping manage your hormones, by helping manage stress, sleep, your metabolic resistance in terms of avoiding the sugary snacks, avoiding the processed foods, but looking at getting fiber in, protein in, and all those good things. So I've chucked quite a lot at you, but ultimately what it comes down to is healthy living. So thinking about the healthy foods you're going to eat, thinking about regularly moving your body, getting weights in there or just body weight, but basically working your muscles is super key. And stress management, because there's a lot of stress out there. And if you're mentally fatigued and tired, it's going to affect you physically. Likewise, if you're physically tired, then it's going to affect you mentally in terms of what you want to do. So it really is a whole holistic approach. But the key elements, if you're like, Julie, where do I start? Try and look at your sleep. As I mentioned, if you're struggling with sleep, go and see your doctor or look at Lara Briden for supplements around hormones and sleep. Stress management is the other key one because that's going to influence everything. Sleep, stress management, hydration, move your body because it's going to give you good mental and physical health. And look at getting protein in your meals, fiber, color. Okay, team, it is not complex, but it is a lot. I will recap on some of that over the week, but any questions, give me a shout, drop into my DMs, but purely if you're not trying to sell me something like Maddie is. All right, guys, have a good evening. Take care, and I shall